Welcome to second session of anti-hyperlipidemic agents. In this session, we will finish anti-hyperlipidemic agents and we will also discuss some drugs used in the treatment of obesity. So in continuation with anti-hyperlipidemic agents, we will see the mechanism of action of niacin. But before that, let us see the role of the enzyme lipases in adipose tissue. Here we can see in adipose tissue the triglyceride gets converted to fatty acid under the influence of enzyme lipases. Okay, and this fatty acid is utilized by the liver for the synthesis of again triglyceride. Then this triglyceride is converted into VLDL, and this VLDL we have studied in last class also that it gets converted into finally into LDL. So any drug which inhibits this enzyme lipase, that is the conversion of triglyceride to fatty acid in adipose tissue, can reduce the levels of VLDL, and as we can see VLDL is the precursor of LDL. That drug will also be useful in lowering the plasma LDL levels. So one such drug is niacin or vitamin B3, that is nicotinic acid. At gram doses, means at very high dose, in gram doses, this niacin inhibits the synthesis of fatty acid in the adipose tissue. Thereby this will decrease the plasma VLDL and plasma LDL levels subsequently. So this is important. Let us see salient points about nicotinic acid. So at gram doses, this nicotinic acid, that is vitamin B3, inhibits the lipolysis in the adipose tissue, which in turn leads to decreased production of free fatty acids. And we know that this will lead to reduction in VLDL synthesis, and also VLDL, I told you in last class, if any drug reduces VLDL levels, it will also reduce triglyceride levels, and this will also reduce plasma LDL levels. While nicotinic acid is the most effective drug in increasing the plasma HDL levels. So this is very important. Nicotinic acid is the most effective agent for increasing plasma HDL levels. So this is good because this is a good cholesterol. So few points about this most effective agents. Suppose most effective agents for reducing the plasma LDL are the statins. Okay, and the newer agents like PCSK9 inhibitors. But statins are the one of the most effective agent for reducing plasma LDL levels. While for reducing plasma triglyceride levels, the most effective agent are the fibrates. We will see in the next slide that fibrates are the most effective agents in reducing the plasma triglyceride levels. So now coming to the adverse effects of nicotinic acid. At gram doses, that is at very high dose, the dose which is used in the as anti-hyperlipidemic drug, at that dose the adverse effects which are common are flushing, pruritus, there can be burning pain, and at this much high dose it is hepatotoxic. And nicotinic acid reduces the or decreases the secretion of uric acid, thereby it can lead to hyperuricemia. Now some important points about flushing and pruritus. We know that usually the flushing and pruritus is due to higher histamine levels, but in case of nicotinic acid, these are mediated through prostaglandins. So these are prostaglandin mediated adverse effects. So how can you prevent this? By giving which drug? NSAID, that is aspirin, can be used for the prevention of this flushing and pruritus due to nicotinic acid. So this is important. These two adverse effects are due to prostaglandins. Now coming to fibric acid derivatives or fibrates like clofibrates, fenofibrates. What are their mechanism of action? See, these fibrates bind to PPAR receptor. What is it? That is peroxisome proliferator activated receptor alpha. So they will bind to one receptor. This receptor belongs to nuclear receptor. Okay, it is a nuclear receptor and is involved in the lipid metabolism. Through gene regulation, this PPAR receptor is involved in lipid metabolism. So by binding to PPAR alpha, these fibrates increases the expression of lipoprotein lipase or induces the expression or induces the activity of lipoprotein lipase. In last class also I told you lipoprotein lipase are involved in the breakdown of VLDL. Okay, so they were causing the breakdown of VLDL or triglycerides. Thereby they will reduce the levels of triglycerides in the plasma. So they can be used in the treatment of hypertriglyceridemia. And I told you that it is the most effective agent in reducing these triglyceride levels. Regarding fenofibrate, they have uricosuric effect, so they can be used in gout, although we don't prefer them, but they have uricosuric effect, means they will increase the excretion, urinary excretion of uric acid. Again, the adverse effects of fibrates are they cause saturation of bile leading to gallstones. Okay, so they can cause increased biliary cholesterol excretion that may precipitate gallstones. And again, previously we studied that we should not combine fibrates and statins together because there is an increased risk of myositis and also there can be increased risk of rhabdomyolysis. Why? Because fibrates decreases the biliary clearance of statins, thereby leading to increased plasma concentration of statins and the obvious adverse effects. So let us see one more drug, that is cholesterol absorption inhibitor. Here we have to know only one drug, that is ezetimibe. Ezetimibe is a drug which reduces the absorption of cholesterol. In GI tract, it will inhibit the absorption of cholesterol. So thereby leading to or it prevents the intestinal absorption of cholesterol, which again will cause decreased cholesterol levels in the hepatocytes. And through that feedback mechanism, there will be upregulation of LDL receptors, due to which more uptake of plasma LDL will be there, that will result in lowering of plasma LDL levels. Regarding the adverse effects, again, as we are decreasing the absorption of cholesterol, there will be fatty diarrhea. Steatorrhea can be the adverse effect of ezetimibe. Usually they are not used as monotherapy, so we will use ezetimibe as a combination therapy with statins. Usually we combine this ezetimibe. Okay. Now coming to the newer classes of drug, those are called as PCSK9 inhibitors. PCSK9 inhibitors are the novel anti-hyperlipidemic agents. So let us see what is the role of PCSK9. PCSK9 is involved in the degradation of LDL receptors. So PCSK9 causes internalization of LDL receptors, that is endocytosis, and it presents this LDL receptor to lysosomes for further degradation. So if the levels of PCSK9 is high, obviously there will be more degradation of LDL receptors and there will be less uptake of plasma LDL, leading to higher levels of plasma LDL. So we have devised a drug that will inhibit this PCSK9, leading to inhibition of degradation of LDL receptors. Okay, there will be the number of LDL receptors will increase in presence of PCSK9 inhibitors, due to which again what it will do, the LDL receptor will cause increased uptake of LDL and that will cause lowering of plasma LDL levels. Two drugs are there in PCSK9 inhibitors. One of them is alirocumab and other one is evolocumab. So you can see here that ocumab is a term which is synonym with this PCSK9 inhibitor. So just to recognize what are the PCSK9 inhibitors, you can search this word, that is ocumab. So alirocumab and evolocumab are the PCSK9 inhibitors. Regarding their adverse effects, they are given parenterally, so there can be injection site reactions and also allergic reactions can be there because they are monoclonal antibodies, MAB. So they can cause these kinds of adverse effects. And regarding the what is the full form of PCSK9, it is proprotein convertase subtilisin kexin type 9. So the name of this PCSK9 or full form of PCSK is very lengthy, so better to say PCSK9 inhibitors. Now this diagram depicts the mechanism of action of these agents. Let us see on the left hand side, we can see this diagram shows there is no PCSK9 inhibition in this diagram. So what is the outcome when there is no PCSK9 inhibition? Here we can see this is a hepatocyte and this is the lysosome. So what is the role of PCSK9? PCSK9 is presenting this LDL receptor to this lysosome for their further degradation. So in presence of PCSK9, we can see there are limited numbers of LDL receptors. While if we use PCSK9 inhibitors, that is these monoclonal antibody are binding to this PCSK9, which is preventing the degradation of LDL, which is preventing the presentation of these LDL receptors to the lysosomes. Thereby they are increasing the numbers of LDL receptors on the surface of hepatocyte, due to which more of LDL is able to bind to this LDL receptor and the plasma LDL levels are reduced. So this is important. Here in this diagram we can see the number of LDL receptors are much more as compared to the left hand side diagram where we are not using any PCSK9 inhibitors. So this diagram summarizes the effects of anti-hyperlipidemic drugs, various anti-hyperlipidemic drugs on plasma LDL, HDL and triglyceride/VLDL. Okay, so we can see here that HMG-CoA reductase inhibitors, that is statins, and the PCSK9 inhibitors are having maximum plasma LDL lowering capacity. We can see here, while the fibrates are the agents which are having maximum triglyceride lowering capacity. While regarding niacin, they have the maximum effect on HDL. They will increase the HDL to the maximum, okay, as compared to the other anti-hyperlipidemic agents. So they have maximum HDL increasing capacity. While these bile acid sequestrants and cholesterol absorption inhibitor are usually given in combination. Okay. So this finishes the drugs acting as anti-hyperlipidemic agents. So let us now discuss something about obesity. So obesity is, we know that it is a state of excess adipose tissue. And what is the problem with obesity? It itself is a risk factor for many diseases. Like for hypertension, obesity is an independent risk factor. Also for diabetes mellitus, likewise for dyslipidemia, and there are many diseases. In fact, some malignancies are also associated with obesity. So how do we say a person is obese? Depending upon the body mass index, that is BMI. We all know that. What is it? It is weight divided by the square of height. Okay, so it is expressed in kg per meter square. And what is the normal range? Normal range as per WHO is in between 18.5 to 24.9. So less than 18.5 kg per meter square is underweight, while more than 24.9 is overweight. But remember, more than 24.5, that is 25 to 29.9, is not obese. He or she is overweight. He falls under the category of overweight. While to call a person obese, his BMI should be more than equal to 30. Actually, why we are dividing this obesity in based on this BMI? Because the management of obesity will be according to this BMI only. Suppose the patient is having, it falls under this overweight category, that is his BMI is less than 30 but more than 24.9. So here we will go for general measures. As a management of obesity, we will go for general measures like diet therapy, behavioral therapy. Here we will exercise and all. We will be prescribing this in case of the patient is overweight. While if he falls in this obese category, that is the BMI is more than equal to 30, here we will be along with these general measures, we will be giving drugs. We will be using certain drugs, or we will be going for pharmacotherapy here. And if the BMI is more than equal to 40, here we will be going for some surgery. GI restrictive surgery is also called as bariatric surgery. So this is what is the significance of dividing these based on the BMI. So regarding the anti-obesity or the pharmacotherapy of obesity, we have certain drugs. Here we can classify these drugs into two categories. The one group of those agents will reduce the appetite. Okay, if the person is not eating, obviously he will lose some weight. At least he will not gain any weight. So they are called as appetite suppressants or anorexiants. Other group of drugs that can be used in the treatment of obesity are that will decrease the absorption of fat. Dietary absorption of fat can be reduced. Okay, so these are the main classification of drugs used in obesity. So coming to one such drug that is decreasing the absorption of fat is the orlistat. Orlistat is the agent that inhibits the pancreatic lipase enzyme, and this lipase is important in the it causes the breakdown of triglyceride and makes this triglyceride into a absorbable moiety. So if we inhibit this enzyme, obviously the absorption of triglyceride will not be broken down into the intestine and its absorption will be hampered. While other agents which I have mentioned here, like phentermine, like the combination of phentermine and topiramate, lorcaserin, and again the combination of naltrexone and bupropion, and lastly liraglutide, will interfere in the satiety, or in they will reduce the appetite. Okay, actually this noradrenaline level and the serotonin, if we play with noradrenaline and serotonin levels, we can induce the early satiety, or we can make a drug which inhibits the appetite. So here we can see naltrexone and bupropion, again they are having their effect on noradrenaline and serotonin levels. Likewise, lorcaserin is a 5-HT2C agonist. Again, it will stimulate the early satiety. So more or less, they are causing the suppression of appetite. These number 1, 2, 3, and 4 are the FDA approved anti-obesity drugs. Okay. And liraglutide is a GLP-1 analog. We will be discussing this when we will be discussing anti-diabetic drugs. These are the GLP-1 analogs. Liraglutide is also used there in type 2 diabetes mellitus, and it can also be used in obesity. The last two drugs, that is sibutramine and rimonabant, are discontinued. They were previously used, but due to their adverse effect, sibutramine and rimonabant have been discontinued. What is the mechanism of action of sibutramine? It is an amphetamine-like substance. So again, we know that amphetamine increases the noradrenaline and serotonin levels. So again, I told you it will be acting as an anorexiant, but due to some cardiovascular abnormality or disease, this sibutramine has been discontinued. While rimonabant is a cannabinoid receptor antagonist, which again has been discontinued due to mood disorders. It used to cause bipolar disorders, so it has been withdrawn from the market. So this finishes anti-hyperlipidemic agents and the drugs used in the treatment of obesity. Thank you.